Hey guys, I just wanted to tell you about William Herschel and his life outside being a famous astronomer. He was an astronomer from the 1800s who has shaped a lot of modern astrology today. He discovered countless stars and comets and a planet and its moons. Well, first I want to let you know about his discoveries. He was most famous for discovering Uranus. He was going to name it Georgium Sidus after the king of the time, probably because he was a bit of a suck-up. But the idea got ditched once they decided the name should match all the other planets who were named after the gods. So they named it Uranus, god of sky and heavens. Okay, now that we have some background on why anyone even remembers this man, let's backtrack a bit, all the way back to 1738, Hanover, Germany. His parents were very good and encouraged all their children to study music and mathematics, although they couldn't afford too high of an education for them. Their father especially pushed for their musical education, him being a musician for an army band himself. He was also quite the genius, but poverty was probably what kept him from furthering his musical career. Herschel also followed in his footsteps as he got older. He composed many pieces of music, and he joined a military marching band at 19, but then he escaped with a couple of his siblings to be a musician in Britain. Well, they all seemed to have bright futures ahead of them, practicing their music and being intelligent human beings, even though they couldn't afford a higher education. Though I'm sure it took him a while, because William was proficient in the cello, oboe, violin, piano, harpsichord, and organ, and he also crafted a lot of his own instruments. Well, they all had bright futures except for his sister, Caroline. She was very sickly when she was younger, and she got something that, when she was young, that stunted her growth and deformed her face a bit, and her parents thought she would never marry, so they wanted to keep her home and have her be a maid, even though she was intelligent and also musically inclined, just like her brothers and sisters. But at the time, if a woman couldn't marry, then she was generally kept at home to take care of her parents, though she didn't really let her height stop her much. William, of course, didn't really agree with this, so he told his parents that he would take her away and that she would be his housemaid, even though he was actually just going to go teach her some more instruments and mathematics and everything he found interesting. He actually had her become a musician, and she got pretty famous, but once William got interested in astronomy, she followed suit. Anyways, they started creating telescopes. They started out with an amateur one, but as William's interest increased, they started building their own so they could see better. But, of course, to build telescopes, you need money, and to get money, you have to discover things and get endorsed by, like, the king. So they just kept at it, and they observed the night sky in what they called, at night, when they weren't working, in what they called a natural observation of the heavens. I don't really know when they slept, but my theory is vampires. They built over 400 telescopes in their lifetimes, but with the most recent one, they managed to discover Uranus, and that got them the endorsement from King George, and that's what really made him famous, practically overnight. And he got invited to the Fellowship of Royal Society with a bunch of other cool, smart dudes, and and he was also knighted, which I don't know if that's super cool because the king just seemed to knight people the same way my grandma passes candy out on Halloween. There's no evidence of it, but if I were Caroline, I would be low-key seething in the background. She did end up getting a yearly allowance of $50 per year and was the government's first hired female scientist in Britain practically, so maybe she was content with her work of assisting William. William and Caroline continued to make cool new discoveries like stars and comets. I wondered if anyone doubted William's work because a woman documented his discoveries, but when I researched, all I found was other astronomers doubted him because their telescopes didn't show what he was discovering. So seeing is believing, I guess. William finally settled down at 50 to a rich widow named Mary. They say behind every great man is an even greater woman, and it's safe to say Caroline was not thrilled to be pushed further in the background. However, all her diaries were burned from that time period, so I guess we'll never know. She did love their child, John, who carried on his dad's legacy after he died in 1822. Well, guys, that's about it, and thanks for watching.